Making sure. So we're going live. Making sure I can get the Instagram. The Instagram is a little tricky.
Yeah.
So for all of those that are tuning in, you can also catch this on Instagram too. Hi, I'm Izzy Nally. I have an amazing guest with me today. So Marlena Wolf is local to me, but what she's doing is definitely bigger than just local. It's amazing. So Marlena, you build these amazing raised bed gardens, but it's more than just like raised beds. Like I saw this one photo, you have the whole thing fenced in. I mean, it looks like something off of Southern Gardens or some magazine. Like these are magazine worthy gardens.
Thank
Tell,
you.
tell us a little more about your business.
Yeah. So, we started with growing organic vegetables and learning how to grow food in our areas. And it has just really grown and snowballed into, educating. We really want to create more garden retention. And so we started doing classes and education and on-site consulting, which has again then snowballed. We've had so many people with problems with gardening, home gardening, growing food just in the lawn roughly or in the ground. So, we really transitioned to raised beds. There's so many benefits to these things. They're structurally beautiful. They bring a lot of I don't know, just kind of like elements of design and also a huge benefit to your plants and to your body. We'll get into that later. But so yeah, you're right. Now we do full garden designs and installations. And so,
It's
that can
amazing.
be 4 beds or it can be 15 beds, and there's pathways and borders, and they're very much inviting people. They kind of
Yes.
call to you. People want to pay them a visit. They want to show their family and friends, like, come and look at this thing. It's like an exterior space that you can enjoy that's manicured, but you're still growing something useful.
I love that because when I saw that image, I just imagined myself looking out my back like window, backyard window and seeing that and be like, it would be inviting to like come out there and want to garden because when it is done right, when gardening is done right and all of the layout is, which you're going to tell us more about, it reduces the amount of work, really. Like you're putting the work up front and then it's pretty easy to maintain. And you even will plant the vegetables in the garden for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're a full service garden company.
Amazing.
So, I mean, we meet DIYers where they are, but typically, like for a full garden package, it includes the plants, the soil, the beds, all the kind of excavation and sod removal kind of from the ground up, from, to irrigation to trellising to the full enclosure with the fences to keep the deer out. We try to keep the rodents
That's
out.
my problem.
So yeah, I mean, and we do maintenance, so we can come in seasonally with the plants, spring, summer, fall, do cleanup, seasonal transitions, additional compost or adding a soil fertilizer, and then at the end of the year we'll put in like a cover crop, which helps your soil over the winter. So yeah, we're pretty full service. Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, I think it's amazing. Like you mentioned the word how it kept snowballing. I think your story is brilliant because so many people, have a great idea or they're really passionate about something. And for many, it's a struggle to turn that passion into a business because not always do we have the business mindset to make
Mhm.
it happen. So if
Right.
you could give us the rundown of this beautiful story of where you were, and then I know you had a baby, and then trying to navigate starting your business. I think this story is so inspirational.
Well, thank you. Sure. Yeah. And I feel like it's kind of a long story, so I'll try to make it brief. It really started in like 2009, I think. I was in corporate America. I was making good money. I had security, 401k and insurance and a nice salary for a young woman. I was 26, and I just kind of, I had a lot of health problems as a younger woman, just mostly digestive stuff. And And I was also getting bored in corporate America. I was working late nights and I was like, man, this just doesn't feel like I have a purpose. This isn't meaningful work to me. My heart has always been like nature was always something that brought me a ton of joy. So I started doing volunteer work, local nonprofits, getting into anything I could get my hands on to like fulfill this, like nurture this thing, right? Like I didn't know what it was at the time, but I met a lot of like-minded people that were like eating fresh fruits and veggies. Like that's what my holistic medicine doctor told me, because like conventional medicine wasn't fixing me, dude. So they were like, girl, you need to go eat some like whole foods, get off these processed foods and sugars and sodas and all this shit, because I ate bad and I didn't gain weight. So it was like, but that's why I had all these internal problems. I had nutritional deficiencies. Like I wasn't optimizing my body's health. And so I took that doctor's advice. I was desperate enough to listen. And I started like snooping around farmers markets and like going and, like, hey, can I volunteer on your farm? I was buying food from them because they don't use all these widespread pesticides and all this nasty stuff. Like you can trust that they have integrity and they're doing things ethically with their raising their animals, etc.
Yeah.
And, an opportunity came along to where I was invited asked if I wanted to take this farm apprenticeship on this organic vegetable farm. And,
Nice.
I shot it down to shit originally. It's like, hell no, I'm not doing that at all. It's, room and partial board and hard, long hours outside. But anyway, that was really the beginning for me. Was I took this apprenticeship, I left my corporate job, and I never really turned back. And so then after 2 years, I opened up my own farm business, Girl Next Door Farm, out in Oldham County, and I ran that for 4 years. And we had a lot of that's where the business side of things started from me. It wasn't just farming and being on a tractor and cultivating plants and picking tomatoes. It was like, okay, well, now how do I sell this stuff? How do I? So that was the beginning of reaching out to local grocery stores, reaching out to local restaurant owners, going to farmers markets, talking to people constantly, educating them about our food system, educating them about, why my food was different, etc. Building email lists, whatever. And then, so then, fast forward, we start a family, whatever, we get pregnant. I get so sick. I was such a sick pregnant person. I could not get off the couch. It was like puking every day.
Oh.
The farm got all overgrown and I sold my tractor and I cried my ass off because I'm a country girl. And, we kind of just put the farm on a hiatus, and it was depressing. I looked out at the fields and I would just cry because I felt my pride. I felt so bad about myself, I was growing.
No, I think I lost you.
A baby, but I wasn't growing. I was, because it's kind of a lifestyle. So, we did that. We had babies. We had 2. And then once one was 3 and the other one was 6 months, I was at a women's business conference, because I've always been like hungry for knowledge. I've always been a big like conference goer. I'm a note taker. I've had coaches over the years, and the idea came to me there. I was nursing my baby. She was 6 months old, and the women, because I didn't know how I was going to monetize this work anymore. If I can't be the farmer, what am I going to do? And, they introduced the idea to me about monetizing my knowledge as an expert in my field. And, I have been running after that ever since. And that was in 2019. And, they encouraged me to do online classes and, do recordings, take people through what it's like to have a garden and to nurture soil and plant families, and really, bear down on, the seasonality and the rhythms, and the intuition that you develop as you garden. And, that's kind of where it all started. And then we went into doing on-site workshops. We had a garden party. We called it the Reap What You Sow garden program. Right now it's just the home garden club. Oh my God. Can you even hear me, honey?
Yes, I can hear you. Your
This
video
is
is kind of
totally
clipping.
golly. Oh my goodness. So the garden club, we're doing that now, workshop bundles. And, I just wanted to show people more and more about how to do it well, get some successes, get some wins out there in the garden, and really how important it is to have that peace of mind to know that you're growing your own food. You know what's in it.
Mhm.
You're eating well. You don't have to be dependent on grocery stores. You can be more self-sufficient. Freedom means a lot to me. Self-sufficiency, pride in what we do, having a sense of duty. And for me, it was environmental protection, not polluting groundwater, wildlife, our bodies, etc. And that, learning more about the food systems really put those ideas in my head and really keep me as a compass moving forward. We don't use synthetic fertilizers or pesticides at all. We don't use petroleum based any kind of products. It's all plant and animal based. And so, yeah, I guess fast forward, I kind of got a little bored with that and I started doing on site consultations, So now I'm like, well, I'm going to go on people's properties. All of my clients are women. I was a little nervous at first because I didn't want to be on Joe Schmo's back 40, like some
Yeah.
stranger, but primarily, I don't know, I market and women find me. And, I've helped so many women now, like hundreds of women and their families, transition their kind of scrappy backyard gardens, if, for lack of better words, the in-ground plot that's easily overgrown with grass and trampled by the dog and the kids, to having really kind of unique setups that are more functional and productive. So it's been a real journey marketing wise, sales, because now we're selling high dollar stuff. It's not a $2 tomato, right?
Mhm.
It started with a couple $100 online classes, couple $100 consultations, and we do upwards of $30,000 garden installations now, and so it takes a lot of certainty and confidence and presentation of the value of the
Mhm.
products to really get people to say yes and see it as a value and bring something different to the table that speaks to people. So it takes a lot of lead generation, a lot of name getting, a lot of follow up, right? A lot
Yeah,
of follow up, a lot of showing your stuff, being a loudmouth, right? A lot of people feel a little like nervous, when they start a business because they don't want to bother anybody. And, the thing
agreed.
is people can't give you business if they don't know you exist. And, so you do kind of have to turn the volume up a little bit and show your work and toot your own horn and, who cares,
I
right?
agree, and that can be hard to do, right? Like, that can be really hard to go, like, I feel confident enough in what I'm doing and offering to the world and my community that I'm gonna speak up and say, "Hey, what I'm doing is great." I see that as that's a big hindrance for so many women particularly, but individuals in general, especially if we were taught as children to, like, dull it down, don't stand out too much. But I mean, if anybody meets
Be
you in
not
person, like
heard. I'm sorry, I spoke over you. What'd you say?
no, I said if anybody meets you in person, I love how confident you are, and
Oh,
you're just like, "Here I am, love me or not, but you're gonna love me."
that's right. Most people love me. I'm sure there's a few haters out there, man, but I don't give them a lot of attention.
And you do, I think as a business owner, you have to tune that out because there's always going to be somebody who's going, "You're not gonna make money off of that," or, "Oh, you think you're so great," like, right? Like, there are gonna be those people. Hopefully, if we're louder than they are, we won't hear it.
Yeah. Or, oh, I can build that bed myself.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right. Or, oh, I can build that bed myself. Or, oh, you shouldn't charge people for growing food. That's God's blessing. You can grow food. Well, guess what? Like my response to that is people don't do it well. They
Yes.
have huge losses. They don't know their seasons. They don't know how to manage once they've planted. They plant wrong. It's established wrong, and they get overwhelmed and they quit. Like that is why they call me. Not
Yep.
everybody grew up having a big farm. Maybe your grandma did, maybe your parent did. This generation, it has skipped one or two. And so we're really just,
Agreed.
trying to bring back that ancestral wisdom to where, everybody had grew food, everybody had that kind of knowledge, right? And we need to get back to our roots in that way. And I'm just here for the ride and to show you the way and be the guide. You're the hero, right? Like I'm just showing you how it's done so you can go feed your family.
And
Love it.
I think what you're doing is so empowering too, because like I attempted, I moved into a new house. The backyard was a different beast than what I was used to. I wasn't used to all these critters coming in and all of this. And we did. We spent probably a good thousand or more just on some basics to get our garden going. And
Sure.
the animals ate it all of what we did grow.
Ugh,
The
sucks.
weeds took over, like, nothing turned out to plan, and this is now the 2nd year that we've done this. So, I think what you're doing is really smart because, yes, if you've done it over and over and your heart is set on growing your own food, your heart is set on teaching your children how to grow food,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's so beautiful when your kids go in the backyard and they pick the food
Yeah.
fresh,
Yeah.
and they're so excited about cooking. I have some amazing photos of my last house with the kids I had out on the back porch, and they've got their little, like, safety knives and cutting boards, and they're cutting it up, and they're making
Yay.
marinara sauce,
Oh, I
right?
love them. That's so good. That's right.
But,
That's
yeah, so the beauty tell us a little more, like, the beauty of not only for yourself growing your own food, but teaching our children how to grow food
right.
is priceless.
Well, that's funny because because I'm such a control freak expert. Originally, I did not want my kids anywhere near my garden. Get away. I mean, because when they're toddlers, they're just falling on stuff and
That's
pulling
true.
out the wrong stuff. So I was a little at first. But by the time my oldest was 3, I was way more comfortable. And I've got the cutest pictures of her, digging potatoes and the excitement because you can't see potatoes, they grow underground. And so it's like when you dig them out, it's like this little treasure trove of
Mhm.
golden potatoes. And she's got one on, she accidentally speared one. And so she had it on this like implement and she just had this look on her face like, I'm the boss. And oh my God. And so, the strawberries are a huge one. We pick the hell out of those. Cherry tomatoes, they pick those. So now I'm teaching them more about like seeding and spacing. And all my both my kids know mommy's a farmer. They used to call me a farmer because I was a farmer for a
Aw.
long time. And that's kind of transitioned into she's a gardener. Mommy's a gardener. She helps her clients garden and
Hmm.
and my daughter loves pickled beets. That's like her favorite thing because
That's
we
my
pickle.
favorite.
Yes, it's so good. And we pickle, jalapenos and we can tomatoes and freeze tomatoes. And it does become kind of a lifestyle. And I feel like it gets in your blood a little bit. Like every spring, I get that itch. It's like, oh, planting season's coming. Ground's drying out. Sun's getting out longer. It's almost time. I got to get my seed started. It's like a pull. It's like this seasonal rhythm, dude. It's this intuition that is like born inside you once you get it going. Because it's almost like as a human, as an animal, it's time to
Yes.
get food gathered, planted,
Mhm.
harvested. Like your body, it's like an old animalistic, it's an instinct for
It is an
most of
instinct.
it
I
for me
agree.
now.
And it's so empowering. I love that you, like, you get excited about making food. Like,
Yes.
really, like, if we look back at ourselves culturally, no matter what your culture is, right? No matter where you came from, your heritage, we were farmers. Almost all
Yeah.
of us were. Or we'd get excited about making food and being able to provide for our family. Like, that was the original providing.
Yeah, you couldn't go to the market. Nothing was shelf stable. You go get your bread, you go get your milk, you get your meat, you get your veggies, and you go home. And there's no
Mhm.
refrigeration and freezers. I mean, you might have a root cellar or something, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? An ice house, maybe, if you're lucky. So it was a different way of life, different lifestyle. And, we've gotten so accustomed to the conveniences that it's making us sick. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the scary and sad thing today. It's like all these shelf stable preservatives and additives are now backfiring, and we have all these crazy neurological problems and digestive issues and metabolic problems and cancers.
Yes.
It's like, look at these ingredients. They're poison. What? And it makes me want to run away from the grocery store. So I try to stay on the perimeter. I'm like, I'm just getting bread. I'm just getting veggies. I'm getting some grains, getting some
Like,
meats.
I mean,
Like,
could you
my God.
imagine how different the world would be if instead of watching all this TV and binge watching, we were making our own breads and we were out in the garden and we could and some people they really kind of gawk at, oh, you're spending this much on gardening. But the amount of time, energy, money that goes into the grocery store.
And your healthcare costs and your
Yeah.
medicine, your
Yes.
pharmaceuticals. It's scary.
And then if, I think you're in one of two buckets. When you're really searching for self-empowered freedom, there's the group that are like, I want to live in a tiny house and be able to travel. And then there's the group that are like, I want to be able to provide for myself and not rely on
Right.
grocery stores and everything. It doesn't take much space either, really, to grow your own food at home. You can use your front yard, your backyard. There is a lot that you can do, and especially with raised beds and container gardens, you might
Yes.
not even have to have really like a yard too. So
That's
tell us what that looks like.
Yeah, so containers are cool because they're super temporary. You can take them wherever you want. If you get sun that's not direct, you can move it. You can put it somewhere in the morning where there's sun, then you can move it with the sun throughout the day. Boom. Um, Raised beds, those are going to be more permanent. If you get the type we have, like we have real thick lumber, like we have a 15-year guarantee, maybe 20 years because it's Eastern red cedar. So that's, for those of you who don't know lumber, that's rot resistant. So, like if you have like a thinner board size and you maybe get pine or something else, it's going to probably deteriorate in a few years,
Mm.
3, 5, maybe. But yeah, it extends the width of the roots, so it allows for more productivity. The deeper the
Mm.
roots, the better, more productive your plants are. And though I don't know, I mean, you said, hey, if you don't have a yard, I mean, you can put these things, you can put planter boxes on your deck. Yeah, like you said, out front on a patio. So long as you have kind of a deep pot, especially if you're going to do like high yielding things. And that's actually what I would recommend for somebody who doesn't have a lot of space, is pick plants that are going to give you a high value.
Mm.
One tomato plant will probably give you 10 pounds of tomatoes or so. That's great. Squashes, zucchinis, cucumbers,
Yes.
all high yielding. You get a lot for a little, you know. Even maybe green beans, because they have several beans per plant. So I don't know. I mean, that's just one thing to think about or whatever. I'd grow all season long, spring, summer, fall. So you get a lot of greens and roots in the spring and fall, and then a lot of like fruits in the summer.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people kind of limit themselves too in the garden, especially in Kentucky. Everybody has the Kentucky Derby as like their planting date. Well, that's 2 months after when you can do strawberries, asparagus, radishes, beets, lettuces, kales, like carrots, like you got a lot of window that a lot of people don't really know. So yeah, you
Yes.
can do a lot.
Kale, beets, those are my favorite. Sweet potatoes. I think I could eat those every
Yes.
single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
and I think another thing that a lot of times people think or get in the way a block is going, okay, I'm new to vegetables and fruits. The idea of growing them sounds great. And that sounds fun and great exercise and being out in the sun. But then how do I make tons and tons of food with zucchini and squash or tomatoes? Like, what do I do with all of this? And I think it's really fun too because it can spice up your relationships, whether it be with your kids or with a partner, to say, hey, let's find some fun recipes. Let's try doing new things because you've got all of this stuff and
Right.
learning what
Yeah.
to do with it.
Yeah, it's an activity. That's another thing. This and my husband, he's like from Chicago. He's like this city boy. He like married this farmer, and now he thinks he's a farmer too. But he doesn't grow much. So this year, I was like, we need to get out in the garden. We need to, and we did it as a family, which we've never done, and it was so good because I'm always the one. It's my baby. It's my project. It's my passion. I'm out there constantly nurturing, looking for bug damage. Is anything too dry? Is there something that needs fertilizer? I need to weed. You know what I mean? It's just this thing I do. And so it was really fun bringing the family into it as a family activity. And then, cooking, that's a big activity that families, it takes a village, it's like people are prepping, people are picking, people are washing, people are chopping, somebody's boiling, and it's like this kind of rhythm system that you have. And yeah, you know what? Maybe homemade cooking is like an idea of the past, but it's also very like progressive. We have all these awesome culinary people in the world, and they are growing fresh fruit. I'm sorry, they're fixing and cooking fresh foods in their kitchens with all these amazing herbs, and things are just like popping and tasting so amazing. And so, I think some people have a bit of judgment about this gardening and cooking as a lifestyle because it feels like maybe a setback for women, right? Like, oh, that's women are trying to get out of the kitchen, not back in it. Like we're career women now, right? And
Yes.
so it's like I'm not trying to, rewind the clock on that. I mean, obviously I'm pro women empowerment, right? Like hell
Yes.
yeah. But and so I don't look at it that way. I look at it as like I've been able to monetize it and this is my business. So look, I'm a businesswoman, period. But
Yep.
I needed it to be a purpose driven business for me. I'm helping people, I'm helping the planet, I'm helping in my little corner of the planet. I'm not up at the round tables up in Switzerland, you know what I'm saying? But I'm in my little corner of the world and I'm not hurting it. I am helping it. And and so I feel like, yeah, maybe there's not as much time in the day for people to have 15 garden beds or 8 like I do, but maybe 2, right? Like starting somewhere. Herb gardens are the easiest thing to start with, and they provide herbs all year long. And so maybe
Yes.
that's a step for beginners, is allowing that to guide your palate for the family. Like, what fun can we do with this? And I tell you what,
Mhm.
I'm never more inspired to cook than when I bring something in from the garden. I can walk through a grocery store and not have an idea on a recipe. Seriously. But
No,
as
I understand. Me too.
it's like, oh, you go to the fridge, oh, nothing looks good. It's all in containers and packaged. And as an animal, that shit don't compute in my brain. Like, why am I so confused standing here looking at the pantry?
Yeah.
It's like once it's unpackaged or once I bring it in, I'm like, oh, we're doing a salad. I've got eggs. We'll do hard boiled eggs. I've got bacon. Let's fry that up. Boom, boom, boom. Or, oh, I've got a bunch of potatoes. Usually that looks kind of boring, but damn, I just made some killer potato soup the other day and I wouldn't have been. It just inspires you. I don't know. It
It does.
inspires me. And so there's nothing I feel like about rewinding the clock, about feeding your family, nurturing yourself. It's therapeutic as hell. And you know where your food's coming from. And there's nothing stronger than protecting your body as a temple against illness
Yes.
and disease and, giving yourself more energy and just a better, health trajectory, because people sick out there, Americans, the obesity and the sickness is just off the chart.
Agreed. And one of the biggest causes of weight gain and all of these and sickness and because I think a lot of us we see the weight before we see the sickness a lot of
Yes,
times.
that's right. That's a symptom.
Yeah, it is, and it's all of the processed food, and there's real science that shows too that when we do grow our own food, especially for children, we are much more likely to eat healthier.
Show that example.
Mhm.
That's right.
And my kids, even to this day, like my older kids, my oldest will eat raw Brussels sprouts, did when they were little. They love kale and sweet potatoes because it was cheap. We could grow it, we could do it, and
It was on the menu.
right, it was on the menu. They love it,
Mhm. Love that.
and it is so
It starts
empowering.
with you. It starts with you. It starts at home.
Yep.
Period. I mean,
It does.
we emulate what we see. And when these foods are acceptable, and when my child, and I've had my children say this because I'm a hard ass type mom, like I'm a disciplinarian, I don't put up with a lot. I give them a lot of independence too, but also, you're not going to eat that. Well, then you're not going to eat.
Mhm.
Uh-oh, you want chicken nuggets? Well, you better make some. You want cookies? Then you better make some, And so, like,
So
we bake
good.
too, you know?
It's so good. I think that's so good too because we see this more and more as well when kids go to college, they don't know what to eat. People are becoming adults and they don't know how to cook. They don't
No,
know how to eat healthy. All
no.
they know is to go through the fast food because it's
Yeah,
all foreign. And
it's all cooked and it's quick and it's has a flavor kind of to it, I guess.
I really do think this is us taking our power back. Um,
Yeah, that's it. That's
it
right.
really
And
is.
and it's like since I started doing this, my health has improved tremendously. Oh, I'm not always at the doctor, like, what's wrong with me? Why do I have this continued chronic problem that happens every month, man? What's the deal?
Yeah.
It's like that has improved so much. Yes, I still have some issues. I mean, I'm human and I'm not a purist. I mean, I'll go Chick-fil-A. Look, I'm not trying to say I don't eat fucking graters. Excuse me.
It's doing better, right? Like our goal is to do
Yes.
better.
Yes. Like my kids eat differently with me than they do my husband
Yes.
because I don't tolerate the junk
Mhm.
food, the processed food as much. It's not on my menu, baby. We're having
Mhm.
fresh, we're having apples and peanut butter. We're having carrots and broccoli as a snack. Okay, we dip it in ranch.
Yeah, that's okay.
Trust me. Yeah, but like we cook, and I stress out if I'm like, oh yeah, you can go ahead and have a PB and J for dinner. That doesn't compute with me, man. Sandwiches and me, it's like I want like a home cooked meal. I'm just like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
just
and I
think
think
it's
it right,
like
it depends
years.
on how we're raised. It depends on
Yes,
how we're raised and what becomes natural to us, what becomes our default is how we are raised. I
that's
think
it.
so many of us are trying to reprogram our default
Mhm.
because our default maybe isn't the best, and that can be done as well, but it takes more intentionality, and I'd say
Yes.
for those who are starting their garden and maybe this is new to them, you
Mhm.
can come out and some of the things you do too is helping with I know, like, certain vegetables grow better together,
Mhm.
right? This
Mhm.
was a new concept. I was like, "Oh, that was what I was doing wrong," because some of them like each other and some don't like each other.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, it is. It's a choice. It's a choice that we can make to either investigate and invest in educating ourselves and shifting and implementing what we learn, or we can kind of stay stuck,
Yeah.
or whatever. So it's definitely a choice. And I don't know, I've done a lot of research and myth busting about companion planting.
Yeah? Well, tell
And I
me, like
feel like it's a myth. Like I have personally not found any science that says don't plant this by that.
Mhm.
So like I don't know. Like I don't know. I interplant and square foot plant, which means I am maximizing my planting space. I'm putting small plants next to larger plants, whereas maybe
Mm.
you wouldn't have put anything there.
Yeah.
So that it's a shorter grower versus a longer grower. And so, we interplant like that. And, I don't have a lot of trouble with
Okay.
planting cabbage
Awesome.
next to kale. Like they're in the same family. Like, why is
Yeah.
that bad to do? It's insane. Some of this shit out there is just crazy. From
Right?
being a farmer and growing things on a large scale, it's like, where did they hear that? Did grandma over in Oregon have a good year and she said do that? And then your Aunt Sally in Florida tried something one year and it went well. And so all of a sudden, I'm not trying to be, I don't know. You know, companion planting is as old as time. And so I'm sure there's some merit to it. But I believe, you know, when you put plants and vegetables and herbs and flowers kind of around together, it seems to work. You know, you're suppressing weeds. Okay. You're almost camouflaging some stuff from pests because sometimes I don't even see it because it's so packed. And you're bringing biodiversity to the garden. You're not pulling all of one nutrient from the soil. You know what
I
I'm
think
saying?
that's also really important. There's so much, and I think it's kind of like dieting, right? Like dieting, people put so much mismatched, incorrect, and canceled out content that it starts to become overwhelming, and then we don't do it or we fail.
Right. Yeah, right. Oh, I don't know how to do it because I'm going to do it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like for me, yeah, you're going to have some losses. Even an experienced seasoned gardener has losses. Birds, bugs, squirrels, rodents, hail.
Mm.
I mean, it's going to happen. And so for me, you just have to get started. You just have to take the steps, book a consultation. They're $195. We come out to your home. We take pictures, we take measurements, we look at where the sun is, where the water source is, where your natural lines of symmetry are, where, like your patio or your fence or your sidewalk. And we pick the best spot, you know, your site location, basically, where it's going to be the most accessible for you, where it's going to be most productive with the elements. And then we do plant selection. What do you want to eat? What do you like to eat? What will your family eat, right? Like, what do you want to grow? And then we make a plant layout for you or together. You know, it's like showing people, you know, plant sizes and durations and how much space in a square foot, how many you can pack or how much space they need. Like that's what we provide, you know, as a part of that consultation, so that you're not like left wondering like where do things go then if we get started. And then of course, as the next step then is, you know, if you want to do a garden with us, we give you an estimate on what it would take to transform that space and to either renovate what you already have, give it a makeover or an upgrade or whatever, you know, and provide that so that if you do want to get going, we can have something established, you know, in 3 or 4 weeks and get you growing right away so you don't miss the, you know, season.
I love
Yeah, that way you're not like alone, you're supported, you know.
that.
And we do coaching, we can plant together on the planting day.
Hmm.
You call me, I will get you on my calendar. You know, we
I
do
love
season
that.
support. Yeah, we have classes. Most of the people in my garden classes now are people that have already done an installation and they kind of want that further support, which is awesome, you know, because everything changes every year. I mean, there's some basic things foundationally that will support your success. And then there's little things that are new that happen every year that really are fascinating. You know, they keep your interest and you get to continue to learn basically. And you have
It is
more.
continued learning, and I like that. Like I am definitely one of those people. I'm like I always like to keep learning more to keep it fresh. Um, so if you could give, I guess, one tip to, and I'm going to do a couple of these. One tip to business owners who are starting their businesses or growing their businesses, like you're the growth expert here, just maybe in a different realm, but you've done it. You've grown this business.
Mhm.
What advice would you give to them?
Well, you got to have an email list. You got to get off social. You know,
Yeah.
you've got to move the conversation off free marketing platforms. They can't be your only source of lead generation.
Yeah.
You know, get an email list, do lead generators, give something away, do a giveaway. Either it's a free service you offer. For me, it's a little planter box garden bed. It's, you know, a consultation or whatever. And that way people can exchange their contact info and feel like they're getting something of value. You
Yes.
have to do that. People need to be nurtured. They need to get to know you. Meeting you one time at a networking event or at a vendor show or seeing you online doesn't convert as quickly as you would hope. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the face-to-face rapport is huge, you know, doing pictures of yourself, of course, doing live videos, but really giving that value, getting that contact info so you can actually have email campaigns, you can keep people in your circuit or whatever so that you can continue to work on those relationships. And then quality,
Mm-hmm.
have high quality stuff, be sure what you're selling, your product or your service, is well done, and it's done with integrity, it's done with authenticity. Be
Mm-hmm.
somebody people will trust,
Yeah.
because word of mouth is everything. Referrals, testimonials, good reviews. I mean, that stuff translates to other sales down the road. And so you
It
always
does.
want to be sure, if you make a mistake, you clean it up. I mean, there's been things we've done that have been like, ooh, that didn't work out. And so I'm going to run back over there. I'm going to get that irrigation moved over, because whatever, people are understanding if you're willing to make it right. You can't just run and hide and be like, oh, they already paid and that's it. I don't know. Um, and
I
lastly, do profit and loss analysis. Okay. Like,
yeah,
you've got to know what your expenses are, and you've got to know what your income is, and you've got to tweak your pricing so that you can be a profitable business person. It's not a hobby. If you want to provide a livelihood for your family, you cannot lie to yourself about
there's
what's
so
coming
true.
in and what's going out. You have to be transparent and keep good records and pay attention, because even on the farm, it was like, why am I wasting my time growing kohlrabi? It doesn't sell at the farmer's market. It's taking up space on my table. Why am I even wasting my time and energy? Go with the high, what do they call it? The cash crops. You know what I'm saying? Same thing now, right? Like, I've had
Yeah.
different products. Like, I did we publish a calendar every year. This would have been the 5th year, and I didn't do it this year because things changed on paper increased and margins change, and it's like, dude, it's not going to be profitable for me to spend my time and energy marketing this thing. So I don't know. You just have to be flexible, I think. Pay attention to your money. Check your bank account.
Especially in business, like the money is talking, like it's telling you. Those numbers are telling you things.
Right. Listen, that's right. I mean, don't be cocky. And it's like, I've had an accountant, right? Because I tried to wear all the hats. And it's like, I've had an accountant now for 3 years, and I brought her on as a bookkeeper too. Because look, crunching
Mhm.
numbers ain't my strength. I can grow
That's
you a hell of a garden. I can design it. I can put these badass beds in, make it look fucking dope. But
yes.
managing the percentages and the decimal points ain't for me. The spreadsheets, Lord help me. So you get it, there are trusted servants in the world. You don't have to wear all the hats. Uh,
That is so important. I think most of us, when we go into business, we start to think of ourselves as like just as a contractor, as self-employed, but there's a difference between being self-employed and then owning a business, right? Like a
that's
business owner,
right.
you're making enough to pay other people to do all the other things because you don't do it all anymore.
No, and you can't. I mean, I have physical limitations. My back is a mess. I have 2 young children. I have to take to
Yeah.
school, pick them up, summertime, Christmas time, sick days. I have to know my limits, right?
Yeah.
And so that is, we've hired carpenters. They're all 1099s, contract guys. They come in when the lumber's here. They work per job, building the beds, and then that's it. They work seasonally. And the same with my installation crew. I can't haul pallets of dirt and soil anymore. I can't be at the gravel yard bringing home stepping stones and tons of gravel. Like, the lumber, I mean, these beds are hundreds of pounds. Like, I'm
Yes.
not doing it. And so you shouldn't.
You shouldn't
Um,
do it all. And I think that's so beautiful too, because then you're also giving back to the community in a different way, right? Like by employing other people and creating jobs for them too.
yeah. And eventually, it'll be an employee situation to where It's not all 1099 contractor to be a blast. I would love that. And so the big plan for us is to scale up to where we can have a brick and mortar, because right now we just have a big shop. It's
Oh, that would be
1,600 square feet.
amazing.
And it would be a nursery. We would have bulk compost, bulk mulch, a lot of bag stuff, seeds, plants, greenhouses, merchandise, fun gardening, smarty pants stuff, fun. I'm kind of risque. I'd probably have some really super cute clothes and shit. But we would have our workshop on site so we could build people beds. We would display the beds so you could see them. We would have our workshops there, And so, I feel like it's always about having the dream, working toward it, chipping away. You can't do it all overnight. Get a portfolio, get a profile, get some testimonials, and grow. You don't have to take out $100,000 loan to try to grow fast right off the bat if you don't really know what you're doing. It's okay to grow slow.
Case studies, portfolio, I completely agree. I think, having at least 3 in there that you can really show, here's the before, here's the after, here's what I can do.
Yes,
That
it's
social proof
trust.
is important.
Yes, yeah, it's a lot of trust building. People believe what they see. I
They
can,
do.
like this weekend, I'll just say a quick example. I was at like a garden fair, 2 days in a row. And it's like, I'm talking to people and they're like interested, but it's the first time they've ever heard of this. And they're seeing my pictures and that's helping them understand. And, but it's like, they're not converting on the spot because we need to establish some trust still, And so
Yes.
thank
Play in
goodness
the long game, right? I think so many people think that they're going to jump into business and it's going to make millions instantly. But
Right. Yes, right. You got to get your
time.
expectations straightened out. Yeah, most of the time, I mean, they say most small businesses aren't profitable until like 7 years or between
Yeah,
5 and 10 years or something. And that is that's hard. That's hard to digest that,
it is.
because we all want to be winners. We all want to be successful right off the bat.
Yeah.
And it can just crush your heart. I mean, it kills me sometimes, like the long game. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
still dealing with this. Ugh. But it makes you
Oh,
change your business model. You take some things off your plate, you reduce some expenses, you tweak your pricing. And, I started doing that profit first model by,
yeah.
what is it, Michael Michelson, or he's got a weird name, Michael Michelson. I don't know, whatever, but he
Something like
teaches
that.
you.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
profit first has been a game changer for me as well. I agree.
it really helps you to funnel your money into the places that they need to go for you to get a paycheck. As the business owner, I didn't pay myself forever.
But so many people
Yeah,
don't.
no, because it's terrifying. What if I go into debt? What if I don't pay the What if I don't pay the rent on my place? What if, what if, what if? And it's like, well, you're going to burn out if you don't put a little money in the joint account so your spouse doesn't kill you. So, profit first has been real helpful for sure.
Oh, I love your candidness and I love the authenticity because
Thank
I
you.
think we need as business owners to have more of these conversations too, because there's so many people out there going, "Hey, sign up for my course and you're going to make 30K in 30 days," or, something like that. And it's like, oh, it depends on what stage of business you're in. Like,
Yes, that's right.
like there's so much to it.
That's right. And I have to say this thing too. It's like qualifying questions. You have to ask your clients or your potentials. You've got to ask them so many things so that you know what product is right for them.
Yep.
Like, are they beginner? Have they been doing it a while? Are they seasoned? Where do they, like for me, where do they live? What are their demographics? Because most of the time, my clients are, in their 60s. I don't deal with people my age on the installs. These people have, residual income or what is it? Their kid, they've got grandkids, they're
Yeah.
empty nesters. They're in a different stage of their life and they have more money, And so, for me, that's a qualifying thing. Like, where do you live? Like, where are you
Mhm.
located? Like, are they a better, because I don't want to oversell, right? You know, it's
Yep.
like, I don't want you to pay $200 for me to come down to your house only to see that, you know, you have this tiny little baby yard and, you know, you have $1,000 budget, because I can't serve you. So it's these qualifying questions are everything. You know, maybe they just need to take my class. Maybe they need
Yes.
to come to my class. Maybe they need to buy a $20 calendar to help them DIY it or whatever, you know. And so I think that's important too, not to promise, make all these big promises that maybe aren't suitable, you know, for that particular person. And those qualifying questions really kind of help you kind of sort that out. So
I agreed. I agreed. And that really that requires not being a people pleaser, not trying to be everything to everyone,
um,
knowing that, hey, this is where I fit in and I might not be able to work with everyone and that's okay. Or just say, it's okay if they're not gonna buy this thing, that they can just buy the $20 thing if
totally. Yeah, because you've served them, you've helped them somehow. I mean, that's all people really are looking to you for, is you have to solve a problem for them.
Yep.
What's the problem, and how do you solve it? Is it a product? Is it a service? Both, you know, what do you solve for them? And once you can figure that out, you usually have happy clients, you know, and
Agreed.
you get your price point right too. So
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, I love these type of conversations. They make me so happy.
Me
I love
too.
other
Me
business
too.
women and, you know, talking about the journey. I love talking about money because everybody's so shy about it. And I'm just like, this is what I made. And this is
They
what
are. Agreed. And it's like it's okay to talk about money and you're gonna have to be okay with that as a business owner, especially if you wanna grow in your business.
yeah, and
Um,
be successful. You know,
yes,
a lot of people in the art world, you know, it's like, oh, I just want to make my art. It's like, yeah, well, if nobody knows you exist, you can't make a living doing it. You have to sell that shit. And listen, another thing is I've taken a ton of coaching classes. I've taken a ton of sales and marketing seminars. You know, I've worked with Grant Cardone and, you know, the Slay coach with,
yeah,
Gardenary, the Garden Coach Society, just different people along the way that have like helped me either my mindset or actually like business models, structure, sales and marketing, how to close a sale, you know what I'm saying? How to overcome objections. Like I pay to play. I mean, I invest in myself. I read constantly. I read about business books. I read about money, you know, because I don't know this shit. I know how to garden. So, you
yeah,
know,
it
better
is. And
yourself, better your business.
these things are a necessity and we have to fuel our growth in that way, fueling the mindset. And
Yeah.
this topic has come up a lot too. And I think it was just great timing that if you're not eating the right foods, it's going to cause brain fog. It's going to cause your energy to be low. And then we
Seriously.
wonder, right? Like these self-destructive patterns come in.
It's so hard to manage just your personal life, let alone your business life. And so self-care is like at the top of my to-do list every day. Eat well, get a good night's sleep, move your body, call a friend, you know, pray, get outside. I mean, literally, because if I'm not functioning optimally, I'm in a bad mood.
Yep.
Energy transfers. So you got to
It
be
does.
on your game if you want to serve anybody, you know. So anyway,
I think gardening is a great fit. So we'll wrap this up just to let you know that like as an entrepreneur, business owner, to get yourself away from the desk, to get outside, to do some gardening, to fuel yourself with your own homegrown food would be an amazing thing. You can connect with Marlena. We have the link to ediblegardensinc.com in the comments here in the description of what we're doing. And be sure to reach out and follow Marlena on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, so that you can see all these beautiful pictures. If anything, it'll just inspire you. But hopefully, you take that next step as well. Thank you, Marlena, for joining me today and inspiring us and for all the beautiful wisdom as well.
of course, thanks for having me. It's been a real
Yeah,
pleasure. We should do
thank
this
you.
again sometime.
We should.
See you guys. Thanks again.